Nu Agmar Chasima Teva, Lashona Teva, Masuka to everyone in honor of the new year. Tafshin Hey Alafim Tafshin Pei Dalid 5,788. 84. Pei Dalid 5,784. Many people came up with the various acronyms for this year. Some came up with the concept of Tafshin Pei and Pei Tafshin Pei Dalid. Pei and Dalid make up. If we reverse the letters, it is the word Daf. Dalid Pei. Daf means a page. Basically, it's the year that we start a new page. We start a new leaf, and it's not only us starting a new leaf in life, but it's Hashem. He is basically reflecting and paralleling everything that he does is reflected and parallel to us. And since in our year, it's the concept of starting a new leaf, a new page in our lives. So in Hashem, as far as it's is concerned, Hashem is concerned, it's for Hashem starting a new leaf in the creation. We know that every year the Alter Rebbe explains that there's a new light that never was shown, that never illuminated in the world beforehand, and this is a new light that is brought forth and revealed in the world, and this is basically the concept of Tafshin Pei Dalet, the concept of Tehei Shnas Plo'is Degules. Pla'os is wonders, and degulos we can translate it in many different ways, but thriving wonders. As in comparison to all the miracles that we had in the Tafshin Nuns, that's the Dvar Malchus that we study, and all the other wonders that we have gone through, the Niflois. This is something that never was in existence before, and Hashem is bringing it into existence for us. And this is basically the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach. We're going to the story of this week, a story which happened not too long ago. We're not going back centuries. We're not going back decades. Basically, fresh from this year. It happened yesterday, the second day of Rosh Hashanah. As we know, Rosh Hashanah, the first day in the calendar, the first day fell on Shabbat, Shabbos. We were exempt from the blowing of the shofar when Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, even though it states that in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, in the times that the Beis Hamikdash was in existence, and it will be immediately now, so the shofar is blown in the Beis Hamikdash, even on Shabbat. But outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's not blown, and we only get the opportunity to go and to blow the shofar, the mitzvah of coronating Hashem as our king from new, is something that we get to do only on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, as in this year. It was definitely very exciting. My family and I, we had, besides our youngest one, who has the merit to represent us by the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach in 770 this year, but all the rest of the family and I, we were on shlichus. We were on shlichus in the holy city of Haifa. They used to call Haifa the Red City because they were known to be the central gathering of a communist community from all Israel. Haifa was the Red City. Today, Haifa is known as the Yellow City. If you didn't catch on yet, coming from Tzfas, it's very easy to understand. The Yellow City represents the Moshiach flag, which is all yellow, with the blue crown, outlined blue crown, and the letters Moshiach. So today, it's basically, there are so many Chabad houses Basically, we know even family, immediate family of ours that are shluchim there in the Chabad of Haifa, and we had the schus of being there for the davening, for the services, for the meals. They had incredible, gigantic communal meals. We're not talking about the night of the Seder here for Pesach. We're talking about a feast for Rosh Hashanah. He basically had in the meals over 100 guests in this very, very big but modest hall. And that this also was part of the shlichut, to go and to bring the happiness and the joy of Rosh Hashanah, not only the fear and the reverence, but also the joy and the happiness. It's Yom Tov to each and every individual. They specifically, in the Chabad house, they specifically cater to Russian speakers, people that came, Olim Chadashim, that came originally from Russia, or their children are now connected with the Chabad house, and even people that came now, just recently, from overseas, from the Ukraine. About this in our story now. So after the meal of the second day, we went out in order to go and to do Miftzah Shofar, to go out and to bring the schus, the merit of the hearing of the shofar, to the people that didn't have a chance to hear it yet. Even though it's very difficult now in Haifa not to hear the blowing of the shofar. You have the blowing of the shofar from the early morning, from Netzach Hama, from the time that the sun comes up, until night, until after Shkia. After Shkia, it says that you're allowed to blow the shofar without a blessing until the stars come out. You're allowed to still blow the shofar without a blessing. But nevertheless, there were still hordes and hordes of people walking the streets. And we're talking about the Chabad house, which is on a main street in Haifa, on the Herzl, the corner of Arlozorov, very main, Sokolov or Arlozorov, the main streets in Haifa. And people are walking around. It's right next door to the yeshiva, but the yeshiva boys are overseas by the Rebbe for Tishrei. And this is the center of activity for Chabad of the Hadar quarter, the Hadar Shchuna. Kitzer Maise, we're walking outside. People are coming, people are going. You have to ask them if they're Jewish, because first of all, you have many Arabs walking the streets. Then you have many Russian speakers that aren't Jewish. What can you do? Yeah, you have to be very specific with them. Yeah, you have to ask them not if they're Jewish, because many of the people that came from Russia, they recognize themselves as 100% Jews, despite the fact that only their father is Jewish and their mother isn't. So you got to ask them. And then you have to ask them if they heard the shofar today, because maybe they heard the shofar already. You had many people that said, listen, I heard in the morning, but I would love to hear again. Or I had a young couple that the guy said, no, forget it. And the girl said, we heard shofar this morning. I said, really? You heard shofar? Where? In the synagogue? In the synagogue? So she smiled. She said, no, I heard it on TV. They went, unbelievable. What people come up with, and they're saying it sincerely from the bottom of their heart. They don't mean to make a joke out of it or something. They don't know that they're not. It's that they're supposed to hear it directly from the blow of the shofar, not through electronic connections and so on. That's they don't know. They simply don't know. So there were many people that were able to go into blow shofar for blowing 30 kolot, the 30 times, the 30 voices, as it's called, of the shofar. Then comes a couple, elderly couple. I'd say, well, elderly. Everything is relative. They're probably in their early 70s. but they look very robust and healthy, Baruch Hashem. We walk up to them. We have children, the children from the Chabad house. They're all walking around, and they're going up to people, and they're smiling. Little kids. Tell me, did you hear the shofar yet? People would pay $1 million just to see the smile on these kids' faces. But this couple, so I try to stop them, and I asked them, did you hear the shofar yet? I turned to the husband, and the husband is like really out of it. He says, nah, and he says, in other words, I don't speak Hebrew. Okay, I turn to the woman. Maybe we'll have more luck. I don't know. He says, did you hear Shamatem Hayom Shofar? Did you hear shofar today? So the woman smiles and she says, yeah, no. And the husband is pulling on her hand, like, come on, let's get out of here. Why? We have nothing better to do. Stand around here, waste our time. So the woman looks at her husband very sternly, and she says to him in Russian, she says to him, listen, you're going to stand here, and you're going to do exactly what the rabbi tells you. And we're not moving from here until the rabbi's finished. That was already like, wow, where do you get such people from? It was incredible. The best is yet to come. So the husband, he does what he's told. I take from under my hat, I take my yarmulke, put the yarmulke on his head. We say the two blessings, Lishmoa Kol Shofar and Shechianu, and we start the blowing of the shofar. And they're standing and they're listening. And all of a sudden you can see that even the husband, his heart started to open up and melt. Okay, until you finish 30 blows, you have a small crowd that gathers around because they're interested, they want to see, they want to hear, whatever. Between us, some of them, they don't know better. Some of them, they take out their phones and they start filming in the middle of Yom Tov. But we're blowing the shofar, and then we're finished blowing the shofar. And the woman looks at me with like tears coming down her cheeks. And she says, this is the first time that we ever heard the blowing of the shofar in our lives. And she says, we just arrived here in Israel. We just arrived from Ukraine. Some Ukrainians, they ran away from Ukraine a year and a half ago at the beginning of the war. But this couple, they only arrived now here in Eretz Yisrael from Ukraine, just now. And she says the first time, she knows what a shofar is. It's the first time that they heard the shofar. And it's incredible, we're trying to recap what's going on here. I mean, the Rebbe had my family and I come all the way from Tzfat, from Tzfat to Haifa. And the Rebbe had this couple come all the way from the Ukraine to Haifa in order for them to be able to hear the blowing of the shofar for the first time in their lives. Okay, so now, the couple, the husband looks at his wife as though to ask, are we free to go? Can we leave? So the woman is smiling. She's saying, thank you, thank you. The husband also says, thank you. He's a mensch. And they walk away. From the small crowd that gathered, there was a woman in a white dress. She seemed to be from, in honor of Rosh Hashanah, she was wearing a white dress. And she stayed. Everyone else dispersed. She stayed. And she looks at me and with the children around, and she says, wow. She says with an American accent, but she's speaking in Hebrew. I guess she's an Ola Chadasha. She's speaking in Hebrew, and she says, Ze haya kol kach meragesh. That was so exciting. I said, yeah, it was exciting for me too. She says, no, it was not. Ze lo haya rak meragesh. Ze haya meragesh ad ma'ot. it was exciting to the extent that it brought me tears in my eyes. And I still see that her cheeks are still wet from her tears. So I say to her, "Nu, bevadai, ele dma'ot shel simcha." Certainly, these are tears of happiness, of joy. So she says, "No, betach, of course, of course." So I turn to her and I say, "You think that you were the only one that had tears? I also had tears when I heard the woman tell us her story. And it's not only you and I that have tears today now. Hashem himself, I'm sure, has tears from the story that this woman and her husband just told us. The first time in their life, and they're in their early 70s, but till now they never had the merit of hearing shofar on Rosh Hashanah. It's incredible. It's incredible. So then the woman says, "Wow, atat tzodek. You're right. Atat tzodek. Kacha mevi'im Mashiach." That's the way we bring Mashiach. Kacha, just what you did now, just what we experience now. This is what's going to bring the revelation of the Rebbe Melech Ha'Moshiach. Nu, Bezrat Hashem, we're holding in the days of Aseres Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of Tshuva, after Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur. May it be Hashem's will that we should merit the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach immediately now, on a good and revealed basis, to get with happiness and joy of the heart in a manner of peace and tranquility. And this is the main thing, that it should be immediately now, with a Gemar, Chasima, Teva, Lashana, Teva, Mesuka. We should all be sealed for a good and sweet year, and it should be Teichef Miyad, Mamish, immediately now. Yechi Adonenu, Morenu, Verabenu, HaMelech HaMoshiach, Le'olam Voed. Amen.